Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Raquel. And today, Jennifer and I are joined by the lovely Zoe Martin. And I will give you guys a little background about Zoe before we get started on the conversation. Here we go. From the back of Zoe's book called Making Peace with Autism. Okay, this is a wonderful book. Everybody should get it. Zoe Martin is the proud mother of 2 children and married to an exceptional man. Her family are all autistic and have PDA profiles. Zoe and her children are also diagnosed with ADHD. She openly shares her insights, knowledge, and lived experience as a neurodivergent woman, wife, mother, business owner. You will find Zoe in her genius coaching and mentoring parents across the world who have been gifted with autistic and neurodivergent children. She offers both private and group coaching. She is currently, this is really amazing. She's currently Australia's only transcendental rebirth facilitator. She loves collaborating with her neurokin and speaking at conferences, workshops, and in webinars. And the lovely thing, like I said, is that Zoe has this amazing book, Making Peace with Autism. It is a beautiful, amazing book. And we have the privilege of having Zoe with us today. So thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Hearing you read that it's still, whether surreal is the word, it still triggers deep emotion in me. And yeah, like that's my family, that's our story, and it matters. And I'm just so grateful to be here. Madness Cafe. It's just me all over. Oh my God. And I said to my kids this morning, I said, I'm jumping on this Madness Cafe podcast, but am I already in the Madness Cafe where I actually live, right? Yeah.
I think we all are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I wrote down about 100 questions, so way too many to ask in an hour, but I wanted to start with my favorite quote from your book, which is your quote. I love to go to the coffee shop and order my almond latte. It's a gift to me for being Godzilla epic at this mothering thing. I thought that was so awesome. Tell us about that.
Wow. Synchronicity. I will take big breaths and you'll hear me breathing.
Sure.
And that's me. I'd like to name that. That's me just tapping back into my nervous system. It's also a gratitude thing as well. And closing my eyes down is me not going to sleep. I'm just closing down one of my senses, which helps my executive functioning and helps me, as I see in pictures, helps me put the pictures in order and speak. So I'll clear that up. Coffee is a ritual for me. And what I strive to do every day is to make my whole existence a ritual. And coffee changes, like I know it's, a thing, and I'm not going to go into stories about how good or bad it is. But when I was writing that book, okay, which seemed centuries ago, I would drop the kids off at school, whatever that looked like, and go to the coffee shop, and it was a complete celebration of, I did it. I got through that school morning and I got them to school. So it was 100% a full stop moment and a celebration, no matter how messy or graceful that morning was. I did it.
Right.
Did what was required.
Yeah.
And I was walking home this morning with the dog getting ready to come here, and the neighbour came out and I was laughing with her. We were talking about Mum, because I said to Mum the Madness Cafe podcast, and we were laughing about that and how I said, I get it from my mama. And mum's like, I'm happy I can help, like the madness. And the neighbour said, yeah, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I walked off going, oh, you know, that old chestnut, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And then as I pushed the clicker on the garage door, I went, how awesome that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because I'm epic. So if my apples haven't fallen far from the tree, how good for them. And it was one of those like divine moments of not wronging myself.
Yeah.
And actually going, yeah, you know what?
Mhm.
Yeah, how cool. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I think that's one of the things I like so much about your book is you seem to be able to honor how tough it is and also congratulate and celebrate yourself at the same time. And I see so many mothers just downgrading themselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I didn't do it right, including myself sometimes. I'll say that. And I just think your book gives people permission to be like, yeah, I'm pretty freaking badass in what I do every morning.
Mhm.
That's cool.
I am very open with the amount of PhDs I have. So I have PhD in mistakes. I have PhDs in projecting, in blaming, in yelling, like master's degrees, you know. And I say to the mothers I serve, you ever want any tips on how to like project onto your husband? Just ask me. I've got plenty. This is the human experience. And
Yeah.
no one can prepare you, whatever it is. Like we're talking about my autistic experience, you know, yet Alzheimer's. No one can prepare a daughter to experience her mother with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
We can read the books, we can get the therapy, we can do all that.
Yeah, it is the human experience. You're correct.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one thing that resonates for me with your book is that just as a woman in the world, celebrating who you are, taking care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. Being vulnerable and finding strength in that. One of the things that you wrote on your Instagram was chaos is filled with opportunity. Yes, it's very specific to your situation with your family and your children and yourself, but that speaks to everybody. I mean, although this is a very specific story, I think it has a very universal application.
Thank you. It does. Because when we talk about anything to do with feelings and emotion, energy in motion, it's universal. And like chaos, like the Dalai Lama, you know, he experiences chaos.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, if he experiences chaos, you know, I'm certainly going to experience a large amount of chaos. And I think the disruption and the argument and the, you know, holding ourselves down, and like I say to mothers, as I see in pictures, so it's easy for me to talk like that, it's like we've got ourselves on the ground and we're standing over ourselves with a foot on our chest, and that is not a nice feeling. That's never happened to me, but just that. And then we're like, you know, you. And if we can just like take our foot off, give ourselves a hand to come back up, I really think that this whole thing is about we're going to get knocked back down 100%. And then what's in the gap that we can heal, that we can clear, that we can get support with to help us just bounce back up quicker.
Your title, Making Peace with Autism, made me think a lot about when people try to find something to fix or something to change, or they think something is wrong or they're broken or they're damaged. Can you talk a little bit about how autism isn't something that makes us broken or damaged or in need of fixing?
I certainly can. Yes, yes, yes. So I started this thing, when my son was 3. He's 11. I don't do well with dates and times, so I'm not going to hold myself accountable to the accuracy of any of that. Finer details is not my specialty. So Billy was about 3, and I was already not really enjoying motherhood. I had the 2 kids back to back, both preemies. Was not planned that way, but thank you. It was like, this is not right. Like, this can't be it. And then it got to 4, so Zemma was 3, and she was just this little, yummy, flaming orange head, little, I don't know, goddess. And Billy just kept getting bigger and noisier and louder and, more out of control, when really I was getting bigger and noisier and louder and out of control. So fix it. Fix him. He's the problem, right? Fix it. And then fast forward a couple of years later, after a long journey to diagnosis, right, cool, okay. Asperger's was the thing then. Asperger's, I've got this book, now fix it.
Right.
Get this out of him. I'm not doing this. I don't want to do it. I don't want him like this. I don't want my marriage like this. I don't want anything like this to do with this. So fix it. So when I was coming from that complete fear, and I read somewhere fish can't see the water they swim in. I couldn't see the water I was swimming in. I was just a victim. He was the problem. Someone rescue and fix this. So then all this stuff happens, which I could talk about for 50 years. And now I am autistic. Back then I couldn't even say. I had it in my head sort of like the A word. I think because my kids are young, the F word and the B word and, the A word. Now here I am, autistic. Autistic is who I am. It is my culture. It is my being. It is me. So how that could be a medical disorder does not now compute to my brain. It does not compute to the point where it's so cool. I'm at the place now where I'm rarely triggered by it because I just don't have the data files to even put that together. So Making Peace with Autism was actually a journey home to myself to find out and discover my own neurodiversity and to understand that I am in the order of Zoe. How could I not be in the order of Zoe? How could Billy not be in the order of Billy? He is not a disorder. He is not that, nor is Zemma, nor is Spot. Yeah, I can understand, right, how it's all got from there to here and why I do what I do, and I will always do whatever that looks like in this space, is because there will be a world at some point. I won't see it because I'm 46 this month, but maybe my children's children will experience it, and that is a world where the disorder is taken away from the, ASD.
That's really interesting. My youngest daughter told me very recently that she thinks she could be neurodivergent. And that was the first time I had actually heard that term. So I said to her, tell me a little bit about what that means to you. She just showed me TikToks, they go on their thing and they show you. But it started to make a little bit of sense. And looking at a lot of the behaviors, I was telling Raquel this the other day, I think it's very possible that I'm ADHD, but I don't see that as something bad. I would see, if that was true for me, that maybe that's what helped me have my superpower.
I love how you're bringing this to the table, that for you, it's not soul destroying like all this was for me, that I was literally at my lowest as a mother. You know, I'd asked my husband to leave.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness he didn't, you know, yet, you know, and this is what like fuels me and has me like fist pumping high five, because I just futured a world where it was not a disorder. And then
Right.
you just say, yeah, look, I can see some, and this is me, I say regurgitating, you know, what you've said. Yeah, you know, my daughter said this and I can see this, and yeah.
Super
So
powerful.
seeing your frequency compared to what mine was, like I lived in the dark for years.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a month of like years.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe what you're getting to is being in a world where there's no stigma attached to it.
Stigma or self-hate, Raquel, or
shame,
dislike of self.
or blame or guilt. And that to sort of apply it to the rest of the world. I mean, everybody has, well, not everybody, well, maybe everybody has something that they are quote unquote ashamed about, or that they have stigma around.
Probably.
You know, I mean, we've talked on the podcast about my living with depression and anxiety and going to therapy. You know, for the longest time there was stigma around that. And maybe for some people there still is, but I refuse to live that. And so you're doing the same thing with, like you said, you lived in that darkness and in that shame and that guilt for years and years and years. And now you're starting to see the fruition of your futuring, of seeing a world where there's less stigma around it. And you're also putting this out there in the work that you do. You started at home. You started with yourself. You started with your children and with your husband. And now you're taking that even broader to all of these other parents who are parenting to neurodivergent children, or even dealing with selves with neurodivergent traits.
Not a day goes by, literally, where I don't receive some mother reaching out, questioning her own neurodivergence. And, you know, you're bang on in what you said about the shame, the guilt. You mentioned depression and anxiety. So anxiety is, you cannot be autistic without anxiety. You can't. It is part of it, just because of the world we're in and our central nervous systems and our amygdala constantly scanning for threats. So it's part of it. But the universal thing is, you know, it continues to come back to our relationship with ourselves and the shame. So I am in recovery from bulimia. Yes, I had disordered eating. I didn't have an eating disorder, and it's just language, right? And my language is mine. I change it, so I don't hold on to anything too tightly. But I had disordered eating. I did a fitness model competition, got my breast implant, thought I'd have this raging, awesome sex life and marriage and fix all my body issues, and I'd just be, you know, living my best life. And I did that to control something in a very uncontrollable situation. Plus, I was in argument with my small breasts from the moment I realised that everyone had bigger ones than me, which was about grade 7. It's been a beautiful process, that whole doing the explant, going to the eating disorder clinic, spiralling out of bulimia. You know, I'm 15 kilos, like heavier than my sort of, you know, normal sort of weight. The shame that has been able to be healed through this, I am so grateful for it. And like now, here I am at 45. First time since I can remember, since I was 5, is where my data files go back to. And food is food. But yeah, so here I am. Thank you to breast implants. And really, because that's where it started, wanting bigger boobs. And now food is food. And I used to say to my husband, do you just eat that and then like just move on with your life? And he'd go, yeah. I'd go, okay. And I'd go, well, I just think about what I've eaten or plan what I've eaten, and all day I'm thinking about food.
Me too.
And
Mhm.
and he just can't understand that. My gratitude, overflowing, right?
Yeah. Your women's retreats. What do you do on retreat?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this one is called Unmasked Mothers. And I do day retreats where, so I only serve mothers who are gifted with neurodivergent children. We spend a day together, and it is a day of putting aside their to-do lists, their not to-do lists.
Ooh,
It's
like
just a
that.
day of pure love and magic and belonging. Some of these women have never sat in circle, completely surrounded by women who get it ever.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, some of them have never even told anyone that their child is neurodivergent.
Mm.
So they're alone and lonely.
So, but yeah, look, they're just a day of yum and belonging and crying and laughing and just healing, more fragments of the heart come back together.
How did you get to that point in your journey? For instance, the whole situation with your kids having a play date, or taking your kids out to dinner or going to a movie. And you talked about how it felt really lonely because nobody else understood. But now you're at a point where you're helping other women who felt like you did in the beginning. How did you get to that place?
Great question. I've always been that person that people have come to, for help, for a safe place, for advice, if that's the correct term, really just to be heard. So what I realised quite quickly was that there was no one that I could resonate with, that was in my situation and that was out of the fear and out of
Mhm.
the disorder and all that. So I say Earth was hiring and I got the job because it was like, I'm grounded in science and I'm very woo-woo. And it just kept coming to me,
Mhm.
and I know now that the universe was planning this and helping me because I was, in finance for 25 years. No surprise, a number's a number,
Mhm.
and it was all customer service based. And I did very well. And then I was getting restless and did my personal training certification, while I was still doing that, and then started doing that. And then I just came home one day and I said to my husband, I need to do this. I can't let all these parents go through what I did for the extent of time that I did, because it's not required.
Mhm.
And I don't mean that from a rescuer. We all need to sit in our stuff and go through it. But there needed to be someone out there with a beacon and going, you know what? It's going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get better. And then it just happened. And then here I am. And incredible.
What are the gifts of autism?
We feel first.
Mhm.
I statement. I feel first. Definitely. English is my second language. And I said to you girls before we jumped on that I didn't even Google what you do or anything, and who I align myself with and is top priority to me.
Mhm.
Top priority. Yet I didn't even, because it just felt like, instant. So for me, and see, now I've gone freezing cold. Like I go cold, that's the space, like Antarctic. So I feel first. And my ability to see beyond, I think that's the whole feeling thing, that feeling first, you can come with words and you can come with actions, yet an autistic person sees before that and through that. So frequency matters, you know, what we're emitting off.
Like the vibrational energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our ability to create, our ability to like deeply connect with somebody, the ability to, when supported, to be able to feel something and put boundaries in place. And this is a really hard thing for, you know, an autistic person. And they say, you know, the truth tellers, that, you know, and they label it like black and white, which it is not. It's purely it comes through and this is it.
Yeah.
And the world, this is a real blanket statement, doesn't like that.
Right.
I've got one here in Billy. This is how it is. That is a gift. And yes, that can be squashed and then turn into shame and self-hate and all that sort of thing. But it is definitely a gift.
Does it present differently between your son and your daughter? Yes.
And my husband and myself.
Oh, all four of you?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah. Very. I think when we go back to behaviour is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that all four of us behave is very differently. Billy and I are very verbal. And then Billy, you know, his body needs to move all the time. So like proprioception, it's like if he could just go around doing this to him, then he'd know where he is in the world, maybe feel better. But yeah, so he's very, you know, bang crash and it's out and then he's over it.
I see.
Right, he's got it out, he's moved on split second after, and so do I. Whereas Scott and Zemma, they tend to more withdraw and then like ruminate on that more. Whereas Billy and I'll just get it out, you know, and move on.
And not one better than the other, just different ways of expressing.
It makes me think about what you said where, you know, you talk a lot in your book about meeting your family where they are and meeting other people where they are. Your husband, Scott, coming up with the family motto, just love me. One approach isn't going to, it's not one size fits all. What works with Billy doesn't necessarily work with Zemma. I'm sure that was a lot of trial and error. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit and how all that started and then now how it's, you know, how it's growing and changing and getting better. Basically, y'all coming up with, you know, your family motto now that helps you all work better as individuals and then also as a unit with each other.
Yeah, and I guess when we started, it was from that place of not connecting with my heart, being in that fear state, and then way harder for Scott being the masculine. We are an outcome of what our parents didn't do, you know, transgenerational trauma, cultural religion, grade 7 teachers, all that type of stuff. So much harder. It is still so much trickier and harder for Scott to unravel and heal and move through all of this. But we started by doing what all the therapists and all the pediatricians and all of that said, because I didn't know what I know and I couldn't feel. Really, all I felt was this was horrible. The trial and error 1,000,000%, and it will always be that way. Yet we were doing things that we were told to do. I was swapping and changing from one thing to the next, just grasping because it wasn't working. Any parent that goes on this journey will know this experience, you know, just going from one thing to the next because you want to fix it, right? And you're not coping as a parent. So now we go by autonomy, like everyone's just fighting for autonomy here, all four of us. We're just fighting for autonomy. My son has been the leader for us in treating him like a human, not like his age.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Treating him like a human, not like a child.
Yes.
Not, you will do this because I'm the parent. Tell you what,
Doesn't work.
bring that out here and look out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then my daughter is just the embodiment of compassion and forgiveness. She was brought here to continuously, which must be tiring for her and is, to show us what it's like
Mhm.
to continuously compassion, forgiveness. So I say my son is an 11-year-old. Yeah, he's like he's a 51-year-old stuck in an 11-year-old's body. But that's not easy for him.
Yeah.
It's actually crapola,
Yeah.
right? Plus he's got the prefrontal cortex of an 11-year-old. That doesn't even develop at best till he's 25. How many years is that? Oh, send help. Here, we're all about conversations. We're about forgiveness. We're about I am sorry.
Mm.
And we're about circling back and returning to love as soon as we can. And why we can do that is because it starts at the top, the triangle with Scott and I, our commitment to each other is unwavering. We do not like each other a lot of the time, but we love each other. And that's just the dynamics of this. This is not easy. And our relationship is not wrong. Neurodivergent relationship, good luck, people. We're done wronging that. We have that safety, and the kids know that there is nothing they could do or say that would stop us loving them. And I tell you, respecting everyone's privacy, you would not believe what goes on in this house. Still, nothing. I say to my son all the time, there is nothing ever do or say to me in this life that would stop me loving you, ever.
God,
Yeah, so it's from that place of safety. And, it's just come back to me, Raquel, is what we were talking about with the care of the self.
Mm-hmm.
That place of safety to allow ourselves back up.
Yes.
Mm.
That commitment to the self, like, you know what? Yep, I've just been horrible to you. And you know what? Here's a hand. So I'm going to, come on, girl, pop back up.
Oh, God, I love that so much.
One of the themes that kept coming up for me when I was reading your book, there's a theme of nurturing versus punitive consequences. We always think, like, when we're raising kids, that we have to have consequences for our actions. You have to, and it's so punitive. And what I was telling her is, like, you put it in writing in your book, but in our schools, in our justice system, in our places of work, in our families, punitive doesn't work. It doesn't teach people that they are forever loved. It teaches them that something was wrong and they deserve a punishment. It just doesn't work.
What does punitive mean?
You did something wrong and
Punishment.
you deserve a punishment.
Punishment.
Like, we're going to either spank you, or we're going to take away all your toys, or we're going to put you in a room by yourself where you can't speak to anyone, or we're going to put you in jail. That's what's happened in this country. We put so many people in jail with no nurturing, no love.
Do you know how to spell it?
Oh, yeah. Punitive.
And what I heard in your book was the exact opposite, that punitive doesn't work, that we need to nurture, hold, love, hold space for our children.
Mm-hmm. Returning to love. You talk about that so much in your book.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I think it's universal. I think it applies to, if you look at every system that's wrong, or maybe wrong is the wrong word, every system that doesn't work, it doesn't work because it's punitive versus coming from love.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinated by words. And then I've got to Google them and pull them apart. So I was just like, punitive. And then I need to know what it spells. And then, like, I look at it and I go, okay, so I can see where the punishment comes from, PUNI, but then in there is the word of unit.
Mm.
And when that unite, that unification, that unit is taken away, well, then it is. And
punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And
like
oh,
banning
Lord.
somebody from the tribe. Punishment.
Exactly, Raquel, exactly. And that doesn't help support, cherish, nurture anyone. It just robs them and leaves them less able.
It robs them of their belonging. It robs them of their safety and their support system.
Exactly. Yes. Fear.
So I grew up, I was saying to my son the other day, so, I went to school and this was interesting when mum came with me to the psychiatrist for my ADHD diagnosis, I'm not sure, 2 years ago. And she said to him, every report card said, Zoe works phlegmatically, Zoe's easily interrupted, Zoe interrupts others, Zoe is not working to her potential. Right? And this used to be a running joke through my life.
Yeah.
Yet the wronging, listen to that. I was just coming with the wronging.
Yes. That's what it feels like.
The wronging in that,
Yes.
right? Whereas, imagine Zoe talks a lot, Zoe is doing her best, and so Dad, bless him, he's been past Earthside 28 years. And the hard thing around that is that I was 17 when Dad passed, and he was 46, which I'm 46 this month. And I thought he was so old and just idiot and angry and cranky, and nothing I ever did was good enough for him, right? Yet he's my dad, and look at every report card I ever brought home. So what's he to think of me? That I muck around, that I just talk, don't do my homework, not reaching her potential. So here's my daughter, all this potential, and blowing it up the wall. Oh my gosh. How about if we knew, which we didn't, and thank you. But now, when I say, look at me now, Dad, and he's like, yeah, I know, you go, girl, blow those report cards. And this is it, the disconnection. Zoe, can you go outside? Spend 10 minutes outside. They even sent me on this potential camp, which was the first camp here, in Australia, in grade 11, to sort us out, the ones who weren't reaching their potential. So we went on all these high ropes courses, out for a night in the wilderness on our own and all this. And really, it was all the delinquents in the school, the badasses, the rebels.
So you got pigeonholed as a bad kid.
Yeah, and we weren't. This is the great news. And people go, everyone's been diagnosed autistic, or everyone's got ADHD. Well, maybe they have. And how wonderful that now they could know if they want to and get supports and understanding. They're diagnosing so many elderly people in nursing homes with ADHD, and it is changing their lives. They are putting them on medication, and then here they are in their nursing homes just loving life.
When you were growing up, did you feel like your brain worked differently than other people's?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's what I think is the greatest gift for me. They may differ. They may not agree. But for me to continuously, when the time is right and when it's wrong, drop in stuff about our neurodivergence with my kids. Because I grew up literally thinking I was crazy. I grew up thinking, why am I so different? Why do I talk about bowel movements? And then why is it so hard for me to really enjoy being around girls? Why is it easier for me to be with boys? Why did I miss those sexual cues? And I was raped by our babysitter at 13. This is not something I hide. And these are the things. I wronged myself for that. It wasn't until I was about 32 that Scott came with me again to get help, and it came up. And I finally realised that, no, that was not my fault. I was 13 and I didn't know what strip jack poker actually literally could mean.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the human experience. We wrong ourselves first.
Yeah.
Not knowing better. It's our fault.
We just instantly know thyself. Like, how true is that? So for me, apart from, like I think I cried for 3 weeks nonstop in the lead up to my autistic diagnosis because I knew, and my whole life just flashed before my eyes. And the same thing happened to my husband. He was diagnosed at 47. And really, the first year it was said to me, and I know it now to be true, that the first year is really just your whole life just continues, these moments continue to come back, and you're like, wow, that's why.
Because you're analyzing all of these things that you did or that happened to you.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Is there relief in that, in knowing?
Yes. Oh, not then, but now,
Right.
a celebration.
It sounded like you and your husband both did not want the diagnosis, kind of fought against it, but once you had it, then that brought some relief.
100%. Yes, and that's different. Like, yes, in a nutshell, yes.
A lot of time to get there, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like that is because it's disorder, right? Something's wrong with you.
Growing up, I always thought that my brain worked differently, but I didn't see it as a bad thing. I thought it was a good thing. I thought this is how sort of, I don't know, how narcissistic I am, maybe. I thought, yeah, I think about this much better than other people do. Yeah.
I'm cancelling that narcissistic thought. That's
Thank you very much.
I don't know if it's self-confidence, but in terms of things like, Raquel, you and I have talked about this. I have never been able to understand racism. It drives me absolutely bonkers. I don't understand sexism. It drives me absolute bonkers. So I think my brain processes that information better or faster than other people because that makes no sense to me. All you have to do is think it out logically, right? And also I think if there is a loving God, he would not want people to kill each other for the sake of a name of a religion. So I can't buy into that either. And these are the things why I've always thought, okay, my brain's a little bit different, but for me, I think it's better. Just saying.
Yeah, 100%. And I amen to that. What helps me is the understanding that I know that I just don't have some data files. Right. And that's what I'm feeling for you, that you just don't have those data files.
I don't understand it at all.
No, and I'm the same with racism and certain things. And I'm just like, I have one of my daughter's besties is transgender and she's 10 and we've been on this journey since she was 5. And it's just like, I know why.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, how can you not just love that child?
Because I don't have the data file. So it is just pure frequency of love when she's here and over at our house. Even though when I met her, she was a he.
Right.
So at 5, and it's just like, yes, like it's just pure love, but not everyone has that.
Right. That's what I just can't understand.
Same with me with COVID. I don't have the data files about the vaccine and stuff, like the good, the bad, that I just don't have them. I hope everyone, I don't like the people in distress about it. I just don't have the data file. So my son said, Mum, can you please get the vaccine? I don't want you to die. I'm like, no worries, mate. And my husband's like, I'm like, okay, sweet. Like I just didn't have and now my husband, he's gone back and he's right now. But I literally, so to feel all the turmoil, and I've got a client who it is debilitated her. Literally.
COVID or the vaccine has?
COVID, because she doesn't want the vaccine. Which has a right to exist. Debilitated her. I don't have the files. I don't make that wrong anymore. I'm just like, sweet, this is a gift. I don't have the files around that. I've got the files around plenty of other things. Don't you worry.
I think that's an amazing tool, and I've never ever considered it that way. But now that you say that, that makes total sense to me. What other tools, what would you say is the best tool your family has?
I'm not going to go with best because my PDA and my pathological demand avoidance will just go, give me 4 years and I'll work out and map out the best and I'll get back to you, right?
No, okay, it doesn't have to be the best. One that you like.
One that I like, thank you. Oh, it's like a warm hug. What do I like here for tools? The circling back, the forgiveness. It's something we talk about. The kids will hear Scott and I, or I'll go to Billy, mate, I've circled back. Let me know when you are, and he'll be like, oh, okay, no, right, I'll see you. so that the gift of space.
Ooh, I'm not very good at giving that gift.
I sometimes say we're like vampires, not that I even really know what they do, so maybe I should Google that. Like we go out and we human, and then we come back in, and then everyone splits up.
Right.
Billy will go and do some gaming. Gemma will go in her room, do some YouTube. Scott will go and lay down and do something, and I'll go and do something.
Yeah, I like that though.
And then the other, just the not wronging. It is Scott and I had a meeting yesterday, and our theme for this week, because things have been a bit, is how can we make everyone right?
Oh, I love that.
I've written it down and I'm printing it out, our notes for this week. So if connection over control is our thing for this week. If we don't like it, let it go. Because you've got 4 autistic, ADHD, PDA, it's just a trigger-a-thon at times.
And it's 4 different personalities, 4 different fully formed or fully actualized humans. So you're bringing 4 people into one space who all are different. I have to say, I love how communicative that you all are with each other. And I know that took some work and it took some time to get there. You are very open about that in the book. And it sounds like y'all continue to work on it, which I really appreciate.
And you have just, high five for you, highlighted my best tool. Yes, that's it. So now I feel safe to name it. It's the best tool right now, whatever the date is in 2021, is that I talk it out. So my kids, and I got, Jennifer's dad, that man, and how profound his simple language, the impact he has had in and on my life and parenting.
Thank you.
But yes, thank you. When I talk about what's going on in me, I gift them the language to maybe piece together what's going on in them. I gift them maybe the acceptance of this human experience. So when I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm going, right now, and this is exactly what it would look like. Right now, I just want to yell. I am feeling so angry. I can feel it in my throat, and I've just had too many demands put on me. I am not feeling good. That's my standard. I am not feeling good right now, and I don't want to yell and say something rude. So I'm going to go. Give me a couple of minutes. Or I circle back. I'm sorry for what I said. I.
You take responsibility for what you did.
With language, yeah. So, yeah, that is my best tool.
I mean, yeah, I was raised on the premise that language is powerful, and I've known that all my life without question. And yet I still mess up language sometimes. And I have taught my kids language, and sometimes my kids go to school and they have better language skills than the adults around them. That can be challenging.
My children are raising me. And if I say something, my son, he doesn't miss a beat. Says, well, that's not who you want to be, or you just yelled, or he said, you just made a threat, which means you're out of gas, or you just made a threat, which means you're out of tools. Like if I say, well, I'm not going to give you or something because we don't do threats. And
Mhm.
how does he know that? Because I've spoken that through with them.
Yeah.
That if I'm threatening or dishing out a punishment, I've lost it.
Yep.
How amazing that your kids feel safe enough with all of you to say, Mom, you're out of gas. You're not using your tools. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
I love it. I just had to say that.
I know. Thank you. Now we know the best tool, right?
Don't always use them, but
Oh, when we flipped our lid, we can't use them. If we've gone too far and our lid has flipped off our brain, there are no tools in the toolbox. That toolbox has just been yeeted to another galaxy. So we've got to wait till we come back.
yeah, that's true. I have hit those moments of anger where I almost can feel how good it feels to be angry, and I don't want to calm down for a minute. I just want to, I almost have this awareness up here that says, what you're doing right now could be very damaging. And then this part down here is like, but it feels so good just to get this off my chest. It's really interesting. You say that you had to learn how to master an honest yes and an honest no. What does that mean?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's Yvonne Delafleur, my amazing mentor. My honest no is way more important than my yes. As a neurodivergent family, we say no to way more things than we say yes to. And now I guess we don't get invited to the things that we used to back then because people generally know like it's a no. So like for me to go out to dinner with girlfriends, it needs to be like we're eating at 5:36 and because I need to be home 8:30, 9 o'clock in bed. My sleep is my superpower.
Me too.
Interrupt that and I'm not nice.
Yeah,
So,
me too.
So I don't go out for big nights. I don't do anything like that. Barbecues, to go somewhere like we're in Australia, mate, an Aussie barbecue. I will generally go like for an hour or two with the kids and Scott might stay on. Like we just went to his mate's barbecue yesterday, and that's what happened. So it's the thank you and no in knowing what is through trial and error, way more errors, knowing what is good and what is not good for us.
Mm-hmm.
And if the kids get invited somewhere, no, because we know the carnage, that's not going to be good for them. Or yes, yet we'll pick them up at the 4-hour mark, knowing who I am and who I am not, and stepping forward into that as the conduit, as the mother in this house, and being able to use that honest no. And in my business, I can't give I don't like the word clients, so I can't give the people I serve a neurotypical result. Right? So when we jumped on, I was doing my Palo Santo, sorting out my candles, that's what they see a lot of. That yes and no, I guess, is a neurodivergent yes, a neurodivergent no, because I can't give, and my family can't give anyone or any of our friends a neurotypical experience. So if you want to come here, if we have a family over or friends over, they know that, you know what, you could all just have to go. Might be here for a 5-hour thing and at the 3-hour mark, look, it's
time to
you
go.
guys go? Yeah, sure.
Right. Well, thank you. Having said that, thank you so much for being a yes for us and being on our podcast. That means so much. Thank you.
This has been, I say, my mum read a book, Conversations with God, and my God is...
I love that book.
Oh, I haven't read it. Mum loves it, so my God is very much like Mother Nature and Buddha and the intelligence space, and God's everywhere, it always. But this today, like for me, I would say like this is a conversation with God.
Oh.
Like this is just ease and flow and grace and belonging, and it has just been like pure joy.
Thank you
me,
so much.
Pure joy. So thank you.
Oh my
Thank you
gosh.
for the
Thank you.
space.
That's
So awesome.
the kindest compliment and beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.
I felt it too.
Women need women
Yes.
more than ever. And that
Yes.
is nothing to do with the masculine. That is,
No,
I'm just
love them.
purely stating that more than ever, we need each other. We need safe spaces.
Yes.
And this is what this has been for me today. So it's Monday morning here in Australia, and like, what a cracking start to my week, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just really quick, you mentioned at the end of your book that there are more books in you. I am so excited for you to write your next book. And you said that it's your personal story, the story of making peace with me. Please, 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 please let us know whenever you're close to that. We would love to have you back.
Synchronicity. So I'm walking the dog this morning on my way back here, saying to myself, wow, you know what? I really need to get onto such and such to get onto such and such to sort the book out, this book that's Making Peace with Autism, to make a few changes, because it's print on demand, so you can change anything and add a few bits and la. And you've just highlighted that, because I literally just thought that this morning. So my next book is not going to be that yet.
Okay.
And that is out of respect for my children.
Got it.
Okay, because that book is going to be the tell-all, right? So the rape, the drug abuse, the eating disorder, they know about my implants because they were part of it. They don't know about the bulimia and the other stuff. So that's going to be an age-appropriate one. I'd probably say in 5 years' time. But the next one is going to be, we're pretty sure on the title of WTF, and it's going to be a book for dads or
great.
neurodivergent, because there is, we haven't come across anybody that is doing not what I'm doing, yet sort of the frequency for fathers. My husband just resigned from work about 9 weeks ago because my son needs more support. Trying to work out like who he is and isn't now that he doesn't work outside the home. But so we're super excited about that.
Well, please keep us posted. Yes, please do. Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.